Pomemben korak na poti k krožnemu gospodarstvu je tudi preoblikovanje izdelkov in poslovnih modelov. Celo toaletni papir je mogoče preoblikovati. Izpostavlja pionir na področju uvajanja koncepta cradle to cradle, od zibke do zibke, dobitnik mnogih nagrad, ustanovitelj in generalni direktor raziskovalnega centra EPEA Albin Kälin. Načelo od zibke do zibke, ki je zamenjalo načelo od zibke do groba, je bilo zasnovano konec 80. let minulega stoletja. Gre za ključen preskok v industrijski paradigmi. Materiali in proizvodi z oznako od zibke do zibke ostajajo v neskončnem krogu in ukinjajo koncept odpadkov. Eno od 3 temeljnih načel se glasi: odpadek je hrana. Več o tem pa gospod Kälin.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the Slovenian government to make this really happening here. I think it is wonderful to go in this right direction. And I'm one of the early birds. 23 years ago when I started the first cradle-to-cradle product. So now I think it's really wonderful to see how it is really moving. I would like to talk about redesigning products and business models. So I try to bring you some examples from industry. I'm coming from industry. I'm representing EPEA, an institute which was founded by Michael Braungart, one of the founders of Cradle to Cradle, and he founded the institute in 1987. Okay, and EPEA, it's a scientific institute. And what is our role? I don't want to go into too many details, but in a business context, it is crucial the role that we play. And the role that we play is we act as a knowledge trustee. And why is this? Business fears that if they have to disclose information, and we want to know down to 100 ppm what kind of chemicals we have in a product, so we want to build transparency. So they need a partner where they know that they can trust that the knowledge is being kept safe. So how do we do this? We get the information, we translate the information in cradle to cradle. Cradle to cradle, we can communicate, but the information remains with us. And since we have established this concept, the projects work. There is another thing which is really difficult in the context for business. Business say if a chemical is safe by legislation, it is okay. But legislation is as well based on the linear system. So if you assess a chemical in a circular economy approach or in a cradle-to-cradle aspect, you find totally different views of how toxic chemicals can be. Now the difficult thing is, how can you work with industry, with chemists from companies where they are representing, when you have to tell them PVC is a no-go, organohalogen chemistry is a no-go, and you have to find them a scientist where they say, yes, I think you are right. It's a very difficult situation, but you need a lot of respect. So to develop innovation, making a redesign of products, it is crucial that you find a business way where companies feel safe. So this is what we are doing. EPEA is now, the center is in Hamburg, still with 40 scientists. There are 11 EPEAs worldwide, and one is EPEA Switzerland, which I founded and I represent. We have one member here, Marko Kreiner. He's from Slovenia. He represents us here in Slovenia. And our goal from EPEA Switzerland is we want to really take or make cradle-to-cradle and circular economy initiatives here possible in the Alpine region. So Stuttgart, Munich, Vienna, Milano, Lyon. There are several countries. We speak different languages, but I think we have one common mentality. First, we are skeptical on every new thing. And it's quite tough from the people who live in the Alps to overcome the skepticism. But once you reach this, it takes quite some time. Once you reach this, then I think they all realize, that's something new, and let's do something about it, and you really start to innovate. And this rectangular here, and Slovenia belongs to here as well, is the industrial heart of Europe. Think of the automotive industry. It's quite important. We really have to change the way how we do business. The cradle-to-grave approach, or the paradigm has to change to cradle-to-cradle. The EU Commission, I'm very happy, is taking this up because I really need the government to support this. In December last year in Lyon, there was a conference, Transforming Jobs and Skills for Resource-Efficient, Inclusive and Circular Economy. I was one of the speakers. My subject was old industry, new industry, disruptive technologies, really showing where are the necessities of industry to really transform and make the change happen. Legislation, I think, is key, because we see in a lot of the projects that we are running that we have suddenly an issue with legislation because it's not allowed to do it this way. So we have to get specific approval from the officials, from the authorities, that we can do it this way. I will show you a few examples. But I think it's a good way to go the way towards a circular economy, a zero waste program for Europe. And we hope that by end of the year, we have the result that we can make the go and go forward in the coming years. The Netherlands, they took the lead in 2007. They started. Why do I have this picture here? I think it's important because now we are in 2015. And if you go now to the Netherlands and you see what happened, it's quite amazing. But the message is, when you start a journey like this, never forget it takes time and it takes a lot of effort to bring it forward. So it's not so easy. How do we do this? Chemicals, they are all over our planet. Just a small example, we have assessed a packaging for yogurts in Germany, manufactured in Germany. We are going down to 100 parts per million. We detected 150 chemicals in the packaging for yogurt. We saw that there are chemicals in this packaging which were prohibited for the textile industry in Europe for 20 years. It has something to do with supply chains. The packaging industry, from our point of view, is not really understanding the complexity of supply chains, because we really have to make sure that all the chemicals being used, that they are safe. So how we do this? We assess all the chemicals, ABC. ABC is okay. X is red, has to be phased out. And gray means we have no information or not enough information to make the assessment. And there is a banned list, like I said, PVC or organochlor chemistry. Then in cradle to cradle, we need two systems. So we have to design products that they are either safe for a biological system or safe for a technical system. Biological system, Petra mentioned the toilet paper. From our point of view, the paper industry, the chemicals being used today are not safe for a biological system. And toilet paper, it's not a really sexy product, but it goes into water. And chemicals in water are crucial. And you look at the technical cycles, if you take the toothbrush, the very modern toothbrushes today, it's junk. They consist of shape zones which are very soft and so on, but they exist of 7 to 8 different plastics. You cannot keep them in a closed loop. The material is waste. So we have to change the design of our products. This is what we're doing. There is a certification scheme, and Arnold Schwarzenegger helped us to establish this. EPA as an organization is a business organization because business wants to cooperate with business. We are not an NGO. We are not a foundation. Because if we make a mistake, business wants to grab us, okay? The certification scheme here is a non-profit organization. It's in San Francisco, California. And why did Mr. Schwarzenegger help us to do this? Because there is a law, a legislation since 2008 in California, which prohibits industry of putting toxic chemicals into products. And you know that American legislations, it's pretty tough for industry if you get into that position that you have to defend yourself. So there he started to do this. The certification scheme today, it's not an eco-label. Cradle to Cradle is a trademark. It's a quality brand. Eco-labels are well focusing on one specific industry, like FSC for wood or Ecotex for textiles. Cradle to Cradle wants to cover all products. And we are not based on limits. So, for example, we don't want to have formaldehyde in a product. Just design it out. Not to go into too many details, but we have 5 elements we're looking at. So it's material reutilization. So that means how can we keep the raw materials in a cycle. Then material health. We are going down to 100 ppm. It's about renewable energy and carbon management. We want to know what emissions are going out of a company, and we want to support industry that they really using renewable energy. It's about water stewardship. Chemicals in water is crucial, and we all live on water. And then we talk about social fairness, not only social responsibility. Cradle to Cradle is a different way of thinking. We don't ask us, do you have any child labor, or do you respect human beings? No, the question with social fairness means, what can you do as a person, or what can you do as a business to make a positive impact to the planet? And start thinking this way. What can I do as a person to make a positive impact to the planet? You suddenly get totally different solutions. So now going to show you some examples. It's innovation that we believe drives the change. We have 3 examples, one from the textile industry, one from the wood industry, and one from the plastic industry. So the textile example, 60% of the textiles manufactured today are cotton polyester. It's a blend. It's a no-go in Cradle to Cradle, because you're mixing a biological cycle and a technical cycle. So how do you manage this? The next question is wood in an industry. We have wood as a natural resource, and as soon as it is contaminated with chemicals, it is hazardous waste by legislation. How can you change this? And the third one is reinforced plastics. When you recycle them, it is downcycling. What can you find some innovative ways to really make a cycling of products that you maintain the quality? That's the third example. So the first one, it's Laufenmühle, which is in Germany. They are producing entirely cotton polyester for workwear. We had a workshop with this company, and at the end we said, it's a no-go. And we said, now we can take our suitcase and leave. But the owner and CEO, he said, now I know I have a problem. I better start to work on a solution now, and then hopefully we're finding a solution and I can save the business. So what have we done? We have found a biodegradable polymer, really innovative, which we are replacing instead of polyester. And this polymer, with the features, the technical features we have, are nearly the same as for the ordinary products, that we pass 50 industrial washes for workwear. We still have a major problem which we have not solved. These products are designed for a biological cycle. There is no legislation that industrial manufactured products are limited for industrial composting. I'm trying to address this for 23 years. Here we have an exception from the authorities in Germany that we can do the trials, and we need industrial-based systems for composting. Okay? Because we will have some new biodegradable polymers, but they don't downgrade at a normal compost heap. You need at least 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. And if you look at the shopping bags in the supermarket, it's exactly the same with them. And I think that's as well a wrong communication that we need to develop. So with examples like this, we really try to demonstrate that there are still a lot of questions, but you have to involve everyone to come up with the solutions. Then parquet floors, Bauwerk, a Swiss company. Parquet floors, like here, a beautiful one, once you take it out, it's destroyed. And because it's combined with chemicals, it is hazardous waste. What has this company done? They have put a felt below the parquet, so you can use the parquet 3 times, 3 lifetimes. You can take it out, you can refresh it, and you can put it somewhere else. The chemicals, we have changed the entire glue system and the entire lacquer system. Now it is safe for biological cycles. And after the 3 times use, you can start the cascade. For example, you can make fibers out of it, cellulosic fibers, and you can make textiles out of it, for example. And this company, I think, has now really made the step that the entire production in Switzerland is cradle-to-cradle certified. Okay? So it's really starting with one product, but making it in a system approach that the entire production really gets a solution. Here, Gyroflex, another Swiss company, they really work in a cycle already because they are in a mature industry. If you want to sell an office chair today, you have to take an old one back. So they have this. They have their own plastic manufacturing, and they found a way that they can keep the reinforced plastics in a closed loop. But I think this is the really good business case, because now they have the 3rd generation of chairs, and they designed it in a way that they can reuse the materials. In 2010, in each chair, there were about 30 euros of raw materials involved. Now, 2015, it's 50 euros of value. But this company suddenly discovered a problem. They wanted to bring back the aluminium from chairs that came back. They wanted to send it back to the supplier, who was in Italy. And they could not export it because it was considered as waste. So we have to change as well here the legislation. This is not waste because we know exactly what it is. This is raw material, but we have to remantle it in a way that we can use it for new products. So that's the 3rd message. The other aspect, I think, which is important is the chemical industry. I know in Slovenia you have a lot of chemical industry. So far, they were all very passive. That means they said, yes, we are working together with you if you bring us a project. But they never actually went to the situation where they said, we are going to assess our chemicals, make a positive list, the ones who are good, and then we can give it out to our customers. It has a lot to do with the REACH. Okay, the REACH issue, I think most of you know, that only 1% of the chemicals that were produced by the chemical industry were tested in a fairly adequate way. So that's why the chemical industry had to do a lot of homework. But there are now some examples. One I take from the Netherlands, which is Tanatex Chemicals. They have built an offering of a positive list of chemicals for an entire manufacturing process, for dyeing for cellulosic fibers. So what do you win? You know that each chemical, there is no gap in between, so you get best production out of it. You use much less material, you use less dyeing material, and you have probably less secondary choice. So I think it's a fair business opportunity. But I think the chemical industry really has to make a big step forward and get some courage to go into an active role. Business management systems, I think that is difficult in a lot of companies. You know, we have many normatives ISO, like you have a financial audit, you have ISO 9000 for quality, you have EMAS, ISO 14000 for environment, you have energy, you have social, you have building certifications like LEED, you have product certifications like EU Flower or Cradle to Cradle certified. So how can you integrate this into a management system? How can you integrate this to run the business? And I think this company here, Frosch, I think you all know the company. If you go to the supermarket here in Slovenia, you find the Cradle to Cradle certified products in the supermarket. They have a line for consumers, but they have as well a line for professionals. And how have they done it? You see that on the left-hand side, you see that they integrated all these elements, all these certifications and schemes, they integrated in one system, and they live it. And how do they say it? They say eco-efficiency, doing things right, plus eco-effectiveness, doing the right things, is the result of green effective, doing the right things right. Okay? So you need a lot of this motivation in companies to make people think this way, and how you bring everything together that it works and that they believe in it. Dissemination, scaling it up. Okay, just having 1 or 2 pioneer examples or lighthouses, that's not enough. That's the real challenge. How can we scale it up? And I have 2 examples. One is to scale it up in one entire country, Indonesia. And another one is scaling it up in a supply chain in a consortium, a company, Wolford. Indonesia, here the goal is we made a feasibility study whether we can implement cradle to cradle in Indonesia for the entire textile industry. You have to have some dreams in life. But we think it's feasible. Okay? If you look on the left-hand side, Indonesia, I think it's 250 million people living there, the highest density of people living on the planet. But they have a long tradition in textiles, the batik. And they're wearing these fabrics. Okay? So this goes close to their heart. On the left-hand side, you see that 100,000 of people working this way in the backyard. And on the right-hand side, you have quite a modern textile industry. And this is what we would like to shape off. Define the right chemistry for all these uses, and then spread it out in the entire country. And this is my most favorite project. Wolford. You would not believe how complex such a bra is. They consist of up to 50 different substances and elements. So you have foam, you have metals, you have plastic elements, you have plastic ribbons, you have a lot of textiles. And Wolford, it's a luxury brand. They are as well producing in Slovenia. They have a manufacturing plant here in Slovenia. Here we have a consortium of 14 companies in Vorarlberg, Austria. And this consortium is in the area of about 20 square kilometers. And they represent the entire industry for women underwear. It's quite fascinating. And this project is funded by the government of Austria, and the companies represent 13% of the entire textile industry of Austria. And what we're doing here, we're basically defining the chemistry for textiles in a new way. And we're bringing all this knowledge of this chemistry and raw materials, we're bringing to this consortium. And we are now halfway off the project, and it was already shown at the ORF television in Austria that this could become really a cornerstone for the textile industry. So this is the way I think we are trying to do it. It's not easy, but you can see, hopefully in 2 years' time, you will have these products in the market. Now, the other aspect is always, I feel a lot of wind coming the last over 20 years towards me, and I wish to really get some wind from the back, that it moves further. And the question is, how can we create a pull effect? And you see here Google. What is Google has to do with the pull effect? And it's quite interesting. Google has opened a platform called Google Politico for healthy building materials. Google is not in the building industry. Okay? They have 60 locations worldwide. They have 55,000 employees, and they have 1 billion customers. And they say, we care about our employees. We have to change the building materials that we use. And they have created a platform where companies can register their healthy building materials so they can use them in the buildings. And the certification scheme they approve are 3. One of them is cradle to cradle. And building, that's the second largest industry. And if you look how they operate, they don't work in a cycle or circular economy. And we have 2 major issues. One are the materials, that's one thing. And the other issue is how you implement the materials in the building. They're using glues, they are using foams, they are using a lot of chemicals. We have to redesign the whole buildings, how we do them. Very, very crucial. And the last, I think, redesign from downcycling to upcycling, that's the electronic industry. And what I would really like to say is the waste that we are producing, it's enormous. On the electronic goods, in 2009, 53 million tons of waste only from the electronic industry. 53 million tons. And only 13% was recycled. And if you really look how it's being recycled today, and if you're coming from industry, it's a nightmare. They shredder it. And then they take the metals out of it. And the quality of the metals, because of the shreddering, I can tell you, it's no good. And then with the plastics, they say they recycle the plastic, and they say it is a thermo-recycling, which means they burn it because they cannot recycle the plastic in a proper way because all the additives they have in there, the flame retardants and all the scrap. So we need to redesign this entire industry. And this is exactly how we do it. We built a business model for this. It's really starting from a totally new design. And if you look at industrial designers today, they design fancy products, beautiful. But they don't design that the materials can be used for other products in the future. If you go to universities, in design universities, this is not on the map. We don't ask them to make some next products, but we just ask them, make sure that the materials you're using in the products, that they can be used for other products. But as well, what we have to change is the supply chain. Because of new materials being developed and new procedures that we ask for, you need to have totally different supply chains, different companies who are working together with industry and then develop the products in a way that they are manufactured modularly in a module, and then give an instruction to the recycles, basically like a user guideline, which material has to go which way back. So if you do this in a proper way, I think you can make a lot of money. We are still looking now for 2 years for a project to start. And they all say, it is too complex. It is too complex. No, it's not too complex. Just really start to redesign in a proper way. Think it over. Once you think it over in a proper way, you find orientation. Once you find orientation, you can make decisions, and you can find solutions, and you can create better products. And here, I would like to remind on 2 websites. One is the EPEA Switzerland website for some business cases. It's as well in the Slovenian language. And then the last one, cradle-to-cradle-certified.org. You have all the products that are certified cradle-to-cradle. Thank you very much for your attention.
Stay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kälin, for this exciting presentation that I'm sure it provided a lot of food for thought and also raised a lot of interesting questions. A ima kdo kakšno vprašanje? Gospod na koncu, v zadnji vrsti.
Thank you. My question is, have you in mind to replace the fossil raw materials which comes into your cradle-to-cradle change with renewables, with renewable raw materials such as biopolymers. We have liquid wood, we have, let's say, hemp textiles, which are much more or less, they don't need so much chemistry as cotton. Then we have also hemp-derived biopolymers and so on. My point is redesigning means also a new paradigm to use raw materials instead of classic, let's say, fossil raw materials with new renewable and searching new ways to get new sources. Thank you.
Thank you for this question. I think it's a crucial one. When I started as CEO with EPEA in Hamburg, people from industry were always saying, well, you are supporting the petrochemical industry. I said, why do we support the petrochemical industry? Yes, because we say oil is okay as a raw material. Yeah, but it's not okay to burn oil. Okay? That's the big difference. If you really go on all renewable resources, we have a problem. We will not be able to deliver that many raw materials only on renewable resources. And there are many companies with strategies right now which are making me really angry. One is a huge brand for a drink. Usually the logo is red, now it is green. And they promoting a bottle, a new bottle concept, which is called plant bottle. And if you read it on the label, it says 15% from renewable resources, 15%, and it's from sugarcane of Brazil. Okay, so you have to be careful, is this going into the food chain or not? Then it's 50% recycled PET, and they don't even declare on the label how much of virgin PET they have included. So this is exactly the wrong message, and as well the wrong, I think, learning message that marketing brings to the consumers. Because everyone would understand this is a plant bottle. It's derived from renewable resources. But it's a joke. It's only 15%. And you really have to question whether these 15% are the right idea to use as renewable resources. Another element, I think, are these plastics bags you can find in the supermarket, okay? From renewable resources. Most of the materials, the resources they're using is coming from corn. The corn is coming from the US mainly. So that means that the corn is with quite a good high guarantee genetically modified. So again, for consumers, we are here in Europe. We have an issue with GMO modified products. That's an ethical aspect we have to look at. So what is the message with these two examples? We really have to be very careful how we address this kind of circular economy. Okay? If we start just to optimize the recycling, we will never be able to make it. If we are taking resources and mixing it with others, we are not going to make it. We have to find an agenda which is the right way, which is honest, which is truth, which implements the science, and doesn't just want to tell a story to pretend that a company is green, even though they were red before.
Thank you. Še kakšno vprašanje? Gospodična na desni strani.
Thank you. Janja Kreitmeier-McKenzie from Slovenian Ministry of Environment and Spatial Planning. My question is regarding the durability of products. As you know, in a lot of industries produce products that we know since, at least since 50s, that are purposely made not to last. So my question is, do you deal with that issue as well? And if you do, how you're overcoming these obstacles and communicating this to businesses? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for this question. That comes up a lot as well. Yeah, I think if the companies we're working with, they really want to become lighthouses, and they want to bring a service to the customer. So for example, this office chair manufacturer, they have a huge department for services where they are basically prolonging the life of their products. So they have a repair system. If they take it back, they can replace it, you can replace the upholstery, etc. So this is in our planning. If you look at the wooden floor that we explained, where we can offer 3 lives in addition, okay, this certifies the issue. And I think that's the way how we have to look at these things, not only take one element out of it and say, now we have found a solution, try really to close the loop and find solutions on every aspect. Well, this is really challenging. But we see in a lot of our developments that we are running into conflict with legislation. And that makes it difficult for business if you have to fear that you're running into conflict with legislation. That makes it really difficult. So you have to calm them down and say, look, we're going to get you some specific authorization from the authorities that you can do it. So this is, I think, the way that we have to work out and really try to bring the message as honest and true to the public, to the consumers.
Thank you. Še eno vprašanje tukaj, četrti vrsti na sredini.
Super. Hello. Firstly, welcome to. I'm here.
Okay, I'm Alenka Burja. I have one question regarding the ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership is one of key issues in circular economy. So going from consumer ownership to producer ownership, how do you deal with this, or do you come across these issues already, or is it too early? Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think in a lot of projects we come up with this issue. For example, for the parquet floor, we have an issue of ownership, because when you register a building, okay, at the public authorities, you have to register the building, who is the owner and everything. We wanted to implement a leasing concept for the parquet floor. It didn't work, because if this parquet floor would be leased, it would have to be registered publicly at the authorities. And no owner of a building will do this, because the reselling of the building will become very, very complex. So we had to come over to find some other ideas. And one idea was, if it's the ownership, can you just rent it? Instead of leasing it, just renting it. And that was difficult as well, with a lot of hurdles. And then the idea came up, well, the company could offer a price for the take-back. Okay? So, you know, there are different ways you have to look at this, and there is no one solution. And the way is, how can together we find a solution which respects ownership, but as well which respects the new idea of a circular economy, that ownership, the young generations, they don't have the same understanding of ownership anymore as we have, that this is respected, and maybe we find some new ways how to handle with these issues. But we just started, you know, it's a pass, we just started.
Hvala. Še zadnje vprašanje, gospodični v četrti vrsti.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and congratulations for all the work, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. I have 2 questions. One is about if you deal with the problem that you mentioned about child labor. For example, if you ask the companies where the cotton come from, there is a part of the where the child labor is a huge problem. And secondly, I was wondering about the technology IT industry. What is your what do you think about Fairphone, if you know the concept?
Okay. Take the second question first. Fairphones, yes, you know, I think that's as well one of the good concepts. from the intentions. But as well, you have to look into the materials. The chemicals, look at the chemicals they're using in there. Okay? We have so much work to do to make these products safe. Okay? Safe for humans, safe for the environment. And this job is not finished. It's a good intention, but it just started, the job. So that's the first thing. And then the first question was, I think, on the labels for cotton.
Yeah, and child labor.
And child labor, okay.
If you look at in the company when they, for example, the company that was using a new product, a new service. Oh, sorry. A new sources for another material, but the cotton, you ask them also about where the cotton comes from?
Okay, yes, sure. First, we are not using cotton. Okay, we replaced cotton through a cellulose fabric manufactured in Austria and the trees coming from Europe. But I think the question is really big behind. I don't think that in Europe you can sell in the midterm, the next 5 years or so on, cotton, organic cotton or whatever, as a green fabric or a green T-shirt anymore. Because, you know, one thing are the chemicals. It's enormous how much chemicals are being used. But the other thing is the water consumption to grow cotton. I don't think anyone can claim that this is green. And then one more comment on the labels. Do you know how many labels there are, eco-labels there are in the textile industry? 450. 450 eco-labels. And a lot of them are coming from the retailers. Why are retailers interested to make an eco-label? What do they want to make transparent, or what do they want to hide? And I think really have to be careful, this inflation of different labels. When we started Cradle to Cradle, we did not want to make a certification because it was not our intention to do so. But industry requested it, that we do it. And we said, we cannot go the road of an eco-label. We have to try to build it on a quality brand, because I think what is key in the future is quality. And if you look as well on the initiatives from the EU Commission, I think be careful on recycling quotes on quantity. Be careful. Really try to prioritize first on quality. We need to optimize the entire system on quality, because it doesn't really help us if we have resources if the quality of the resources is no good. And therefore we should think on the next generations, what does that mean? How do you want to produce good Slovenian products, and you have a lot of good industries here, in the future if you don't have enough raw materials? And second, what do you want to do if you don't have the quality of raw materials that you can make adequate, good products? It's as simple as that. It's a responsibility we have.
Just a short follow-up on that, actually. I heard that no product ever was awarded with the golden certificate, Cradle to Cradle. Is that true?
No, this is not true. It is platinum. Platinum is even a step further. So to reach gold, it's very, very difficult. That means gold level means all the chemistry is solved. Every chemical is known, and there is no X chemical, there is no gray chemical. But it means 50% renewable energy, 50% carbon CO2 compensation. We accept certificates, which is something that we need to have, but the important thing is where the industry needs to go. Platinum means the chemistry is okay, 100% renewable energy, and 100% CO2 compensation. The entire supply chain, 50% renewable energy, 50% CO2 compensation. And for water, we are asking that the water coming out from the industry, from the mill, that it has the status of drinking water.
Thank you very much.
That is where we need to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.